The movie begins by showing a female guard named Jill who is stealing drugs from a research laboratory. The next day, she sells the drugs to a man. After selling the drugs, she picks up her children, Matilda and Noah, who are cared for by their grandmother Doris. On the way, all the car engines die and they lose control. Unexpectedly, from the side, another car appears that also has a dead engine, causing the car they are riding in to fall into the lake. They then try to unbuckle their seatbelts. Meanwhile, the water begins to fill the car. After releasing their seatbelts, they manage to surface just before the car sinks. But here they don't see Matilda, who was actually saved by two sheriffs on the riverbank. The sheriffs say that all the car engines suddenly died, and the whole city experienced a power outage. Shortly afterwards, they arrive at the hospital. The hospital is experiencing a huge surge of patients due to the strange incident. Unfortunately, the equipment in the hospital is not working. The people in the hospital speculate that they are being attacked by terrorists. Jill, who is treating her wounds, is suddenly startled by a woman screaming. She then approaches the sound and is shocked to see that all the coma patients in that room wake up simultaneously. After leaving the hospital, they go home. Shortly afterwards, night arrives and Jill prepares to sleep. But strangely, they all can't sleep. They then look out the window and see a bunch of people who have the same symptoms as them. Unlike the others, Matilda doesn't have these symptoms and can sleep comfortably. Jill enters Noah's room, who is also not asleep. Noah, who is looking at the night sky, sees many shooting stars, but after looking closely, it turns out that they are not shooting stars but satellites. On her way to work, Jill sees all the people in town gather and have trouble sleeping. In the middle of her journey, she is stopped by the man who bought the drugs at the beginning of the story and asks Jill to get him sleeping pills. When she arrives at work, Jill takes the drugs again, but she is caught by a soldier. Jill's friend, a doctor named Murphy, comes and explains that she knows Jill. Dr. Murphy came with soldiers to that room to look for files for her research. Dr. Murphy also asks Jill to join her in the research, but she refuses. A man named Brian explains that people can no longer sleep and that they will soon experience symptoms of lack of sleep or insomnia. He also says that there is an old woman who can sleep, and they are researching her in hopes of finding a cure for this condition. But Jill remembers that Matilda can also sleep, so she rushes home to see her. When she arrives at home, Jill panics because she can't find Matilda until Noah arrives and says that Matilda went to church with Doris, their grandmother. When they are about to go to church, Brian arrives and asks Jill to hand over Matilda to the research center. But Jill, who doesn't want her child to be hurt, refuses. On the way, they see the situation of the people is really chaotic due to lack of sleep. When they pass a small alley, they see people who died horribly due to fighting. This is caused by the unstable emotions of the people due to lack of sleep. On the other hand, the pastor of the church gives a sermon and says that they all still have hope. After seeing Matilda's condition, he asks everyone to pray. But one person thinks that Matilda should be sacrificed so that they can all sleep. Soon Jill arrives with Noah and Brian. There's a commotion here due to fighting over Matilda. The people in the church want Matilda to be sacrificed, while Brian wants to take Matilda to the research place. But unexpectedly, Brian is shot by a policeman who doesn't want Matilda to be taken. Because of the shot, Matilda panics and hides. Everyone looks for Matilda, but luckily Jill finds her first. They run into the forest and leave Doris behind. But the problem doesn't stop there. Jill and Noah argue because Noah wants Matilda to be taken to the research center because he believes the doctors will find a cure. Jill, who initially refused, finally agrees. She then goes to a garage to look for an old car that doesn't use an electronic system. When she arrives at the garage, Jill sees that the garage owner is dead after being killed by two robbers. Meanwhile, the robbers who are fixing the car are surprised by the sound of a military vehicle passing by. Seeing the supplies and drugs of the soldiers, the robbers then follow them with the intention of taking their supplies. Jill then takes the car and picks up her two children at night. While driving, they stop because they see a car with a corpse next to it. When checked, it turns out that the person is one of the robbers who was in the garage earlier. It seems he was shot when he tried to rob the soldiers he saw before. Jill then takes the robber's weapon for precaution. They are tired and decide to rest. Jill then tells Noah why she doesn't want to take Matilda to Dr. Murphy because she is an inhuman psychiatrist, and will do anything to get an answer. The next day, they continue their journey. On their way, they see a group of naked people who believe that the apocalypse has arrived. They then stop at a library to look for a map book. In the library, Jill teaches Matilda how to shoot because she believes she won't survive. But here Matilda refuses to hold the gun. Jill, who is angry, finally fires a shot at the book in front of her. But unexpectedly behind the bookshelf, there is Noah standing. Noah asks why she shot in that direction. Jill apologizes because she thought Noah was in the car. They then look for the travel route on the map. But on the other side, one of the escaped prison inmates takes their car, which has Matilda sleeping inside. Jill and Noah then chase him, but are blocked by a group of escaped inmates. Jill fires a warning shot, but it is ignored. Unexpectedly, the car thief comes back and tells Jill and Noah to get in the car. Jill points a gun at him and asks his identity and purpose. It turns out that this inmate is named Dodge, and the reason he stole the car was because he wanted to go north quickly. Dodge takes the gun from Jill's hand, but it turns out that the gun has no bullets. Finally, they find a plane wreckage and look for some items that can be used. Here, Jill teaches Matilda how to take gasoline and put it in the tank. Meanwhile, Noah explains that their goal is to go to Lewisburg North to find a cure. Because they have the same goal, they decide to go together, and Dodge gives the gun back to Jill to convince her that he won't do anything wrong. That night, Jill teaches Matilda how to drive because she is the only one who has energy to drive, and prepares her for the possibility of living alone when everyone dies from lack of sleep. While driving, they are suddenly attacked by a group of people. Jill takes over the wheel and hits the gas, leaving the place. Finally, they see a very bright light that comes from the research place. Jill and her children then get out of the car and will go there. Dodge offers help, but Jill tells him to continue his journey using the car. Jill then goes there alone and leaves her children to make sure the place is safe. When she goes there, she sees soldiers injecting something into each other's necks. She doesn't know what they are injecting. Shortly afterwards, Jill manages to get into the place and disguises herself as a doctor. Jill then meets the old woman who can sleep and finds her in a sick condition. Jill asks the old woman to take care of Matilda because Jill believes that they won't find a cure. The old woman then says that she should have died a few months ago. Soon, Dr. Murphy comes and sees Jill there. Jill lies to Dr. Murphy that she came to help. Jill also pretends not to know what happened to Brian and asks if she has found a cure. Dr. Murphy says that she hasn't found a cure, but they have a drug that can help brain function, but it has a side effect of causing nerve damage. She also adds that they will not survive and tells Jill to get back to work. Jill, who feels frustrated, goes out for a moment and sees a flare shot into the air. Unfortunately, Dodge comes back with Noah and Matilda in front of the soldiers. Jill wants to approach them, but is held back by the soldiers. And finally, Matilda cries and admits that she can sleep. The next day, Matilda asks if she can help, and the doctor answers that they need to find out what makes her special. She sees the chimpanzees that have been tested, and sees that the chimpanzee does not sleep when given anesthetic gas. The doctor says that chimpanzees are the only animals besides humans who can't sleep because of their genetic relationship. Dr. Murphy comes and tries to give anesthesia to Matilda, and yes, Matilda can sleep after being sedated. Seeing this, Dr. Murphy is happy because they still have hope. Meanwhile, Jill, who is detained, experiences delirium or confusion and a decrease in consciousness. Dr. Murphy asks why Matilda can sleep. Jill then begs Murphy to let Matilda go, but she insists that the survival of humanity depends on her. The soldiers and doctors go to where Dodge is held and ask him to be an additional guard. Dodge is also given a stimulant injection to keep him awake. In the research room, suddenly the old woman's breath stops due to heart failure and dies. Jill hallucinates that Noah threatens and will kill her. But the real Noah actually wants to be taken to the research room to compare his brain with Matilda's. Those who haven't slept for a week start to go crazy. The soldiers hallucinate that they are attacked. This makes them shoot each other. Meanwhile, Jill manages to escape and goes to the research room to free Matilda. After successfully bringing Matilda, Jill sees Noah hallucinating where Noah thinks he is gutting a fish, but actually he is cutting a cable. As a result, Noah is thrown back by an electric shock from the cable. Matilda quickly takes a defibrillator to restart Noah's heart. Due to excessive energy, Jill and Matilda are thrown back, making Matilda faint. The next day, Noah wakes up and says that he dreamed. Noah tells Jill that Jill was right, and they shouldn't have gone there. On the other side, Matilda is seen carrying a trolley for her mother, but suddenly the trolley is tripped by something. When she checks it, Matilda finds a medal and remembers the sheriff who saved her at that time. Matilda, who realizes something, immediately approaches Noah. She explains to Noah that they are actually dead, but revived. Matilda says that she should have died in the lake, but came back to life after the sheriff pressed her chest. Meanwhile, Noah, whose heart stopped, came back to life after being given a defibrillator. They both then get an idea and bring Jill to the lake. There they intend to drown Jill to make her stop breathing for a moment. After Jill stops breathing, they bring Jill to the edge of the lake and pump her chest. In the last scene, Jill is seen finally breathing again and coming back to life, and the movie ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.